Welcome back to Not So Harsh, guys. Superman is soaring at the box office. 3 days में 220 million बना चुकी है and James Gunn has become the highest grossing director of all comic book movies. आज बहुत चीजें हैं that we're going to unpack and unravel in the spoiler talk for Superman by James Gunn. Let's get right into it.
Bounce up on a Tuesday night. Straight as home like a neon light. Got a story, but I'll keep it tight. Not so harsh, not so bright.
Thank you so much for joining us for our spoiler review of the Superman. And अगर आपने ये मूवी नहीं देखी है पहले तो then I would recommend that आप हमारा जाके non-spoiler review देखें, which is also out on the channel. And then come back for the discussion because there's a lot to talk about. मैं ये मूवी दूसरी बार देख के आ रहा हूँ and I think watching it the second time actually kind of made the overall experience a little better for me, I would say, because I think पहली बार जब मैं मूवी देखने जा रहा था, and this is something I want to get out straight off the bat, I felt I was coming from the experience of the Man of Steel, the Batman, and the actual DC universe that was going on before, which maybe kind of put me in a mind frame where I felt that, you know, DC had to continue that dark trend, एक थोड़ा सा realistic tone, and I was also skeptical कि हम DC as a property and all its shows and movies don't become very similar to Marvel. And I feel a lot of my opinions have changed. I feel a little better about the movie. I already thought it was really good, but I feel even better about it. Some things stuck with me even more. But इसमें जो problems थी, those have also become all the more glaringly clear because of that. Movie kickstart होती है with a lot of different exposition. आपको बताया जाता है कि यहाँ पे इस universe में 300 साल से भी ज़्यादा से meta humans have been in the world, have been in existence. So, and Superman has kind of landed on Earth 30 years back, and 3 years back is actually when he's kind of come out as Superman, right? In his superhero persona. Now, when you kind of enter the movie, all of this is given to you as a lot of information and a lot of text. So, thoda sa initially, it kind of puts you in a mind frame ki ye what's happened all of a sudden. Even in terms of action set pieces, there is a lot going on because the first half of Lex Luthor's plan is in a way what is dictating the entire first half of the movie, which is quite action packed. आप एक set piece से दूसरे set piece पे jump करते जा रहे हो, and there is always something that is kind of building up. Talking about what are the things that I really liked. First and foremost, I think Mr. Terrific was terrific. I think that man needs a big shout out because I think every time he was on frame, he just looked like somebody who commanded presence, even in the presence of Superman, which is a big deal, right? Because हमारा boy तो is completely invincible, but Mr. Terrific really held his own. He really added a lot of value as a character. He really helps the story progress as well. And the first time these guys are kind of introduced is actually in the fight with the kaiju, जो आप लोगों ने देखा होगा already in the trailers. And there also Mr. Terrific is actually the one who kind of puts him down, you know, with a little gunslinger move. तो बहुत ही cool portrayal था overall Mr. Terrific का. Secondly, one thing that actually I really enjoyed a lot more because इस बार second viewing पे उस पर मेरा ध्यान भी ज़्यादा गया है, is that we really see Superman be a savior in this movie. We see him across all of his iterations, he's done that. But in this movie, it was almost like this Superman does not want to let anyone get hurt. So uska first priority, even during threat, is to ensure that everyone else is safe, even to the point where he ensures a squirrel gets saved. So that was really refreshing. I think that was a very interesting new take, wherein otherwise we always see Superman who is always like the tank of the group, and he's always the one who's going ahead throwing punches. Even Man of Steel mein BVS kind of origin ही यही था that there was so much destruction in Man of Steel which Superman did not care about, to which why he is perceived a threat by Batman. Again, how the kaiju actually falls down right then and there, and Superman पूरे time बस try कर रहा है कि ये लोगों पे ना गिर जाए. That was very refreshing to see. In fact, if I'm talking about this perspective, ये second half तक continue होता है, and you actually don't see Superman throwing hands till the finale of the movie, the actual final set piece. So very interesting, very refreshing as well, and मेरे को ये देख के तो काफी मजा आया. Another thing that I think really helped, the second viewing really helped me overall, was the relationship between Lois and Clark. What I initially thought when they first have that meeting and she is taking an interview with Superman is that she is being really harsh on him. Somebody who is actually acting on his own accord to try and stop a war only because he has good intentions. Usko obviously Lois Lane counter karti hai from a very journalistic approach. But second time viewing mein, you see that at the end of the day, they are like a regular couple. It is not all, you know, everything is not gloomy and everything is not all hearts. So it is somewhere in between, wherein they have their good moments, they have the bad moments, they have a very realistic, you know, conversation about where they are, what they want, and you see them, you know, kind of go through these very human moments together. It's not just for the sake they starting of the movie they're together, and at the end it's sprinkled across really well, so it actually lets the relationship grow organically. And there was this one moment when these guys are sitting in Superman's apartment alone, I think Superman always is, and there is that punk rock moment. I felt it was very reminiscent of if you've seen what was that movie, I think it was very reminiscent of that father's portrayal in Everything Everywhere All at Once. वो बोलते हैं कि you know his way, his demeanor, and how he talks to people, how he looks at people, how he thinks about people is his way of life, and it's a very human way of navigating through life. हम सबका अपना एक तरीका होता है how we interact with people. Some people have that aggressive demeanor, some people have a very sweet, humble demeanor. It's all about how they perceive their experiences, how they feel they need to mold their personalities to go through life. And I feel that is something Superman in that very conversation, the punk rock conversation, replicated really well, which I think gave him a lot more humanity, you know, gave him that, okay, he is an alien, but he still has more humanity than a lot of humans we know, at least a lot of humans we see in the movie as well. Apart from that, there was a lot of small world building elements that I caught this time around. Maxwell Lord is actually the mastermind behind the Justice Gang. Not the mastermind, as in he's the one who's almost funding them. He's superhero ki team hai. Stag Industries comes into the picture again. Simon Stagg, if you know him from the comics, is a Metamorpho villain. Metamorpho is also present in this movie, so maybe they also get a spin-off later. You don't know where this universe is going to go. Metamorpho का भी एक presence in the movie comes in the second half, but जो भी small bits that he does, I felt were really enjoyable. It was really refreshing to see somebody with those kind of powers on screen, wherein weakness भी Superman की in some shape or form वो ही बनते हैं, लेकिन at the end of the day he is also the one who kind of helps them get out of that situation. And in terms of the second viewing and my overall experience, I feel these small nuances actually gave a lot of depth to the overall movie. Crypto ka portrayal obviously was a lot of fun. I did not talk about that in the first review, but obviously I think Crypto has a big share on the overall screen and the runtime. And I think usko initially my first viewing I thought usko maybe बहुत अच्छे से utilize नहीं किया गया, but now that I saw it the second time, I did feel that second half में there was actually a big takedown that Crypto had to be a part of, else वो possible हो नहीं पाता, because that is why Superman was kind of getting beaten throughout the movie. Now I feel we should talk about some of the negatives. Lex Luthor, again, like I would say, Nicholas Hoult, his portrayal is fantastic. He is a solid actor, we've all seen that. But his first half of his entire plan is so crisp, is so tight. He's not letting Superman breathe. मतलब वो एक प्रॉब्लम से निकल रहा है तो किसी दूसरे टाइप की प्रॉब्लम में फंस जा रहा है, वहां से निकल रहा है तो all of a sudden there is government scrutiny. Lex Luthor has tied him from all different angles. He's surrounded him with a lot of problems that keeps Superman occupied, that allows Lex Luthor to break into the Fortress of Solitude. Now, the second half of the plan and the second half of the movie, like I already said, in a way, this movie is almost progressing through with the entire plan that Lex is kind of, orchestrating for Superman. So the driving force of that all of a sudden shifts, and Superman को Lex Luthor captures somehow, and वो उसको पॉकेट डायमेंशन में लेके जाता है, जहाँ पे इतनी अतरंगी चीजें दिखा दी that I could not understand. ये all of a sudden from a cool, calculated सुपर विलन, हाउ डिड ही जस्ट गो कंप्लीटली कॉमिकल कि इसके पास एक पोर्टल है, इस पोर्टल के अंदर एक पॉकेट डायमेंशन है, उस डायमेंशन के अंदर देयर आर मंकीज दैट आर स्मार्ट इनफ टू गो ऑनलाइन एंड स्प्रेड अ लॉट ऑफ नेगेटिव चैटर अबाउट सुपरमैन. सो ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स जस्ट सडनली टुक मी आउट कि ओ अभी तक तो ठीक है, थोड़ा ओवर द टॉप था, बट ही वाज यूजिंग टेक्नोलॉजी, ही वाज यूजिंग in some shape or form very ulterior modes of being able to kind of haunt Superman. But all of a sudden it becomes a very direct threat. Superman unke kabu mein hai, Superman is completely immobilized for some reasons, and you're just left wondering कि ये इतना सारा कुछ जो आपने दिखा दिया है, Lex, if you already have this much, आप अभी भी वर्ल्ड के प्रेसिडेंट कैसे नहीं है? All together it became all the more clearer that जो pacing issue भी actually मूवी का है, that in some shape or form stems from the fall in the overall plan by Lex Luthor. One more thing I would like to talk about while I'm talking about the negatives, ये बहुत बड़ा नेगेटिव नहीं है, just a small nitpick, but I have been a DC fan for the longest time, and इन्होंने एक इस मूवी के origin के अंदर, by the way, Bradley Cooper is playing Jor-El, Superman's father, and there is this message that Superman has come with from his parents, जिसका बस वो first half सुनता है, which obviously always talks about him being a good person and helping everyone around him, and second part is missing. ऐसे ही मेरे को ये पता चला, I just turned around to my wife and said he's gonna get messed up, ये second half में पक्का कुछ ना कुछ होगा. And they did something, if you guys have seen Smallville, very similar to that, wherein Superman has actually been sent to Earth to conquer and not to kind of spread love and kind of help them. So this is actually a small retcon, and as retcons go, because it's Superman, it's a character I hold very dearly to me. मेरे को बहुत ज़्यादा मज़ा नहीं आया, but nonetheless it was a different take. And Superman responds to it very differently as well. He obviously gets very emotional about it once he finds out, even though it gives a very interesting dynamic shift to Superman and how the public perceives him. In a way, I feel it also kind of challenges his humanity and what his self-belief is, because all of a sudden, जो सोचते आ रहा था 30 साल से उसके parents का message है to him has turned out to be completely opposite of what it actually is. So that you see him getting affected by that, and that also kind of adds to his humanity. And I think one of my biggest gripes from the movie is that scene where Superman and Metamorpho kind of are trying to escape from the pocket realm, and Metamorpho का एक baby है. And Superman has this baby that he has to try and protect, and उसके ऊपर 3 different henchmen हैं, apparently all of whom are quite strong, or maybe just Superman is weak from kryptonite, but he's trying to save the baby. And मेरे को नहीं समझ आया वो बेबी का कुचुम्बर कैसे नहीं बन गया, जिस टाइप का आपको एक्शन सीन दिखाया है. This is an action scene where he could have added so much more tension, because we all know that Superman is invincible, but he has the responsibility of keeping that baby alive. So that became a little unrealistic for me. I feel they could have added a lot more tension about the baby falling into the river or getting harmed, and Superman still being under a lot of pressure with these guys because he's weak from kryptonite. ये baby कैसे survive कर गया? I think this baby might become Martian Manhunter and join the Justice League. You never know. Lastly, I think I would love to talk about the main big cameo, which is what we see in the form of Supergirl, whose movie is actually coming out next year, The Woman of Tomorrow. And इस movie में Jason Momoa वापस आ रहे हैं, but not as Aquaman, as Lobo. So that's going to be a really cool take, because Lobo is also one of the main Superman villains, who then in some shape or form becomes an anti-hero. And बहुत ही cool character, if you guys don't know about it, बहुत मजा आने वाला है. Plus, talking about Millie Alcock as Superwoman, even though we just get a very small glimpse, and we also understand that Krypto is going to be in the adventure with Superwoman in the next movie as well. So Krypto कहीं नहीं जाने वाला है आपकी screen से. He's going to be with us for a while. She seems like a very fun, very lively character, and it'll be good to see her first. I think they'll go with the origin, and then they might go into an adventurous take that is again planetary or intergalactic, if you want to say that. There are smaller cameos. There is Peacemaker who comes in and makes a cameo. The cameos have kind of been sprinkled in, but all in all, I feel that yeah, the movie is a very good start at the end of the day. I think when I look at it from a fresh perspective, when I'm not kind of keeping in mind what DC has already created in the past, letting its ideology sink in, I feel this is a solid entry into the DC universe. I feel a lot of DC fans will really appreciate it, really like the sensitivity and the humanity that Superman as a character has finally brought to this on-screen portrayal. And I feel there is just so much scope of where this story can go, because there was just so many small world building elements. Not to mention that the Green Lantern series is also on its way, जिसके लिए Guy Gardner भी फिर से होंगे. I feel this is a solid entry into the grander DCU as a first movie, and really excited to see where this universe goes. James Gunn, we're counting on you. So that was my spoiler review of Superman by James Gunn. I enjoyed the movie in my second watching quite a bit. When I was going into it again, I think became much better from just me going into the first one. So maybe this is a movie you guys might also want to see a couple of times. Also, there are 2 post-credit scenes. One is a mid-credit scene, one is a post-credit scene. I think आप mid-credit scene के लिए रुक सकते हैं, because that's pleasant and very warm to watch. The second post-credit scene is आपको पूरे credits के through बैठना पड़ेगा. Again, if you guys love filmmaking and you would love to spend your time there, please by all means do that. But it's not something you might want to catch in the theater after credits. It's something you can catch online later as well. That wraps up my overall review for Superman. I hope you guys had fun. Let the conversations go on in the comment section below. And if you like this review, like, share, and subscribe, guys. I'll be back with more.
Life and devil ain't no short bet. Not so harsh, just not yet.